name's Scott Duffner. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 26 years now. So I've done a bunch of jobs with the Sheriff's Office. Started off working at the main jail when I first started in 1990. Worked at Honor Farm, Todd Road Jail, worked in narcotics, the gang unit, and then did canines for like 13 years. And with the canine unit, with the dogs, I was part of the SWAT team. So that's how I got all involved in the active shooter stuff. And we go around the entire county and teach active shooter to businesses, school districts, other law enforcement agencies and things like that. So most of the county employees have seen this video and they've been prepared for active shooter. That's the whole point to doing these presentations. It's just to get you guys aware of the things that are happening in the world today, get you guys thinking about what you're going to do if it actually involves you and you're at a place where an incident happens, okay? We don't want anybody to like freak out after the presentation, because the chances of you being involved in an active shooter incident are probably like getting hit by lightning. So it's pretty rare, but we just want you to be aware of it. The big thing is we want you to start thinking about what you're going to do if you're there, okay? So with that, we'll start the presentation. Basically, a couple years ago, this video, it was a live newscast back in North Carolina or South Carolina, back on the East Coast, and they were interviewing a person that was selling property out on the coastline. It was the person being interviewed, the cameraman, and the reporter. The person that ended up shooting all three of them was a disgruntled employee. He got fired a couple weeks prior. We show this because three or four people saw this person pull into the parking lot and get the gun out, strap his GoPro onto his chest, and walk up and shoot the people, okay? So we always show this one because if you see something, you need to say something, okay? We can't assume that somebody else is going to do anything about it, okay? So you have to do something. If somebody had called 911 when they first saw the person pull out a gun or yelled, hey, gun, something, those three people or two people would be alive and the other person would be a vegetable now, okay? So we want you to say something. If something seems odd to you, we want you to say something to your supervisor or call 911, call the police. We're more than happy to come out and check something out and have it be absolutely nothing and have it turn into something that's very serious, okay? Active shooter stuff, anything can happen anywhere, okay? It can happen at your malls, can happen at your schools, can happen at the theater, your house, down the street from your house, anywhere, okay? There's no set specific place where these things happen. They just occur, okay? Oftentimes it's not a spur of the moment thing. It is a planned event by somebody that wants to go out and hurt a lot of people, okay? The golden rules, everybody learned these as they were growing up. Our parents taught us, our grandparents taught us, you learned them in school. Stop, drop, and roll, the fire department taught us that in 2nd or 3rd grade. If you catch on fire spontaneously, you fall on the ground, roll around, hopefully it goes out. Never get in cars with strangers, stranger danger stuff. Look both ways before you cross the street. We all do this stuff, even to this day, okay? We want you to add one more thing to your memory bank, run, hide, and fight, okay? That's what we teach for the active shooter stuff or active stabber, anything that involves somebody trying to kill a lot of people at one time, okay? We want you to run, we want you to hide, and if you have to, as a last resort, fight. We want you to know you have the right to live, okay? So if it comes down to the point where you're going to have to fight with somebody, you're going to have to basically fight to the death, okay? And a lot of people haven't thought about that because they don't do it on a normal daily basis, thinking about, well, what if I get in a fight today? What am I going to have to do, okay? If you're involved in an active shooter incident, and as a last resort, you're going to have to fight with this person, you're going to have to probably kill that person, okay? And you have to get past the thought of doing that, okay? You have to come to the realization that that's what you're going to have to do in order for you to survive, your co-workers to survive, or your friends or your loved ones to survive this, okay? It's not just walking up to somebody and punching them and hopefully they pass out, okay? It's not like that. It's not like the movies, okay? If people get shot, if people get stabbed, they survive it. They go on doing what they're doing, okay? Just because you get shot doesn't mean you're going to die, all right? So we want you to start thinking about, if I fight, what am I going to do in order to survive? What am I going to have to do to this person in order to knock them unconscious, subdue them, or kill them, okay? So We always say your body won't go if your mind hasn't been there already. Okay, so you've already had to have thought about this in order for your body to react. Because if you're thinking about it, you're losing a couple of precious seconds where you could have reacted. Okay, and that's all it takes to survive an incident like this is a couple seconds. Time is life. Kind of going back to what I was telling you guys about, you gotta think about what you are going to do when this happens to you, because every second counts. Got photos of the Virginia Tech shooting up there and the Columbine shooting that happened back in the 90s. That was kind of our first exposure to a big active shooter incident. Okay, when police and fire responded to these things, the police officers would go 3,000 miles an hour to get there because they thought they were going to save the world, but then when they got there, they just stood outside the building and surrounded the building in case somebody came out. Then they would take care of the problem. Okay, and the fire department did the same thing, but they would park three miles away and wait till the police officer said it was okay to come in, and then they'd treat everybody. So we don't do that anymore. We got that went out the window because we saw how many people got hurt, how many people died from that. Okay, so we said to ourselves, we have to fix this. There has to be something else we can do. So at least in this county, and we go around to different counties and states teaching this, we call it Rescue Task Force. So we'll go into it a little bit more later. But basically what it is when we first get there, police officers are waiting for about 3 or 4 officers to get there, and then we'll go inside the building or wherever it's at, and we'll take care of the problem. Okay? As you saw in the video, the first group of officers in there, they're not going to stop and help anybody. So if somebody were to grab them and get in their way, we just push them out of the way because we want to get to where the problem is and take care of the problem so we can save more people and have more people survive. A second wave of officers and paramedics will come in. That's when people get treated, okay? And it's nothing fancy, and the fire department jumped on board with it. They had a little hard time grasping how fast we wanted them to do things, and six firefighters couldn't treat one person, which is kind of a one-on-one thing, and they had to get used to that, but they adapted very well to it. So, and basically what it is battlefield first aid. So they're going to patch you up as quick as they can, throw some gauze on, put a tourniquet on, turn you on your side, and make sure you're able to breathe, okay? And then they're going to move on to the next victim. After they're done treating everybody, we come back, and we scoop everybody up, take them out to a parking lot or a field or wherever it is where they have their little triage area set up, and they do a little bit more in-depth first aid, and off to the hospital you go. We've done it. We usually try to do it twice a year or 4 times a year with the fire department, and we've timed it where the first victims are leaving the triage area within 10 minutes. So that's pretty good, considering that they have to wait a little bit before they can get in there. So, get out of Dodge, run. That's the first thing we want you guys to do, okay? If you can get out of the building or wherever it's at, that's what we want you to do. As you're running out of the building, we want you to say, hey, there's somebody up front shooting, there's somebody in the back shooting, get out. We just want you running by everybody and everybody kind of looks at you like you're weird. Alright? You need to run out with a purpose to try to save everybody else. Okay? When you get to an area of safety, we want you to call 911 if you have your cell phone on you. Okay? That way we know what's going on. You can stay on the line with the operator, say, just tell them the basics. There's somebody at wherever, at the theater, and they're shooting up the theater right now. It's just one person, that's all I saw, and I don't have any other descriptions for you. If they ask you a lot of questions and you don't know the answer, just tell them, I don't know, okay? But they'll be sending people there. As you saw in the video, it's going to take about 3 or 5 minutes for the first officer to arrive. Doesn't seem like a long time, but when you're involved in something like this, it's an eternity, okay? And it seems like it's taking forever. But trust me, we're trying to get there as fast as we can, okay? As you're running out, be a good witness, warn others, okay? Hide. If you can't run out of the building or wherever you're at, we want you to try to hide. Try to find a safe place to hide where you can conceal yourself and get out of harm's way, okay? Get out of sight, barricade the doors or windows, cover or conceal yourself, silence your cell phones, and stay quiet, okay? When they've done interviews with people, active shooters that actually survived their incident and didn't kill themselves, police have interviewed them, and after talking to witnesses and they ask them, why didn't you shoot this person, why didn't you shoot that person, you walked right by them. They had no idea that they walked by them because the person was absolutely still. Well, when your adrenaline's going and everything else, everything kind of shuts down, your vital sensory organs are the only thing that you're able to use. So like your hearing goes down, your sense of smell and everything is just usually your vision. And you got tunnel vision at that. So if you're on the peripheral of the person and they're not looking directly at you, chances are you're going to survive that. If you're perfectly still and you don't make any noises or anything like that, they'll walk right on by you. Okay. Good example of that is the San Bernardino terrorist attack in December of last year. When they came into the room, a lot of them dove under the tables and remained perfectly still. And they think they didn't go shoot underneath the tables because basically nobody was moving, so they didn't think anybody was under there. Just remained still. So they just shot whoever they saw moving around and left. Okay? Fight for your life. This is the last thing we want you to do, but this might be the most important thing that you think about. Okay? You guys work in a hospital, you got a ton of weapons around here. Okay? So you need to figure out, if this happens, what am I going to grab to use? Okay? Am I going to grab a fire extinguisher? Am I going to grab a scalpel? Am I going to grab a pair of long scissors or whatever the case is, a computer keyboard or a monitor, whatever? Okay? But then you need to think about, how am I going to use this? How am I going to defeat this person so I can live? Okay? So you actually have to think about what you're going to do with that piece of equipment, tools, or whatever the case is, okay? We don't want you just to grab it and then stand there and stare at it and say, what am I going to do with this now? Okay? So again, you had to have thought about this before it actually happens, okay? In this fight, there's no rules, okay? So you got to do whatever you can in order to survive. Doesn't matter what happens to that other person, okay? Because they want to kill you. They want to kill other people, all right? That's their one goal and one thing in mind only. Law enforcement response, okay? Like we said, it's going to take 3 to 4 or 5 minutes to get there. Initially, there's not going to be very many officers that show up, okay? Because there's just only so many of us out there that are close by, okay? So initially, in the first 10-15 minutes, there's only going to probably be about 10-15 of us, okay? But within an hour, I can guarantee you there's going to be hundreds of us, all right? Because everybody shows up to this. So you're going to have police officers from LASO, CHP, Fish and Game, places you've never even heard of show up, okay? But the thing is, we're all going to be wearing different uniforms, okay? Some of us are going to be dressed like this. We'll have vests on. Some of us are going to be detectives. They're going to have suits, collared shirts on with ties and stuff like that. They're going to have vests that say police or sheriff or whatever the case is, okay? But the thing we want you to do is, if somebody's telling you to do something and they're wearing that, we want you to try to listen to them, okay? We understand everything's hectic and you just want to try to get out of there as fast as you can, but I can guarantee you the fastest way out is the fastest way I got in there, okay? So if you see me running this way through the door, we want you going back that way, okay? If you have something to tell us as you're running by us, don't yell it at us, because we don't like to be yelled at. Nobody does. Try to say it as calmly as you can, because it's hard to understand somebody that's yelling and frantic, okay? Basically, I'll get out of that as blah, 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 as you run by, and I'm like, okay. So if you can't say it, just point, okay? Point to where the person was, and that's where we're gonna go. We all follow pointing directions very well, so. What's this? Okay. This was, I don't have time to look it up. This was a San Bernardino video. Basically, it was a newscast from CNN, and they kind of went over what happened down in San Bernardino. This county department was actually very prepared for active shooter stuff. They started training probably 4 or 5 years prior to this incident even happening. They had training a year before this, and they actually had active shooter training before it happened a month prior. Okay? So they were prepared. They at least have it once or twice a year, active shooter drills. The unfortunate thing is the month prior when they had the active shooter stuff, the boss came up after the officer was done talking and giving the presentation. The boss came up and said, "You'll have more of this to come." Okay, so it kind of left everybody like, "Oh, okay, what's going to happen?" So when they actually had their training the next month, and this stuff started happening, everybody thought it was a training drill. So that's why some of the people kind of hesitated. They wanted to see what was going to happen, and some of those people ended up getting shot. So I can guarantee you, if we were going to do that at a business and you guys were going to be here, you would know it's going to be an active shooter drill. Okay, so we don't want anybody to get hurt. So if that were to actually happen here, and you hear gunshots and everything like that, and you didn't know it was a drill, it's probably the real thing. Okay, so I went to a class a couple months ago, and they had 3 survivors from the San Bernardino thing there. They told us that they thought it was a drill, and they actually helped us out because they told us what we could do to improve how we responded. So it's always a learning event for us. Nothing's ever perfect, and we're always wanting to learn how to improve everything. Okay. The first officer at the San Bernardino thing was there within 3 minutes. Okay, it was actually a lieutenant coming back from lunch that works in the dispatch center. So when the call went out, he was just down the street, and he got there first, but he didn't go in because he didn't know exactly what was going on, and the calls were still coming into their dispatch center. So as somebody was running out, they basically told him the scoop. Hey, somebody's in the conference room. There's 2 people. They're shooting. Okay, and they're shooting everybody. When 2 other officers got there, as they were going in the door, they were stopped by somebody else, and they said they just left in a black SUV. So they went in, cleared the building, and got the people out with the second wave of officers and paramedics that showed up. Got the injured people out, and as this is developing, it took about 30 or 45 minutes to figure out who it was. They came up with a nickname of the guy that actually saw the SUV a couple blocks away, and for whatever reason, he memorized the license plate. It caught his eye because it was a Utah plate and it was in California. So he thought that was kind of weird. So he just memorized the plate. He went home, turned on the TV, saw all this stuff happening. They told him on the newscast that the suspects had left in a black SUV. So he goes, you know, what are the chances? So he called 911, told them, hey, you know, I was a couple blocks away when this was happening. I saw a black SUV. The guy in it looked kind of worried, frantic, and he had a Utah plate on it, which caught my eye, and this is his license plate. So they ran the plate. It came back to a enterprise rental car company out of Utah. They called them, found out who rented it, found out that they lived in Redland, and so they sent a bunch of police over there. As they were getting there, they saw the SUV leave the apartment complex, so they started chasing it. And that's when the big pursuit happened. They got in a big giant shootout. One of the officers was shot. The terrorists ended up being killed. But in the event, they found 12 pipe bombs at their house, 2 more in the car, and they had actually planted 4 pipe bombs at the building because they had gone in prior to this training happening because the person was a county employee. So what their plan was to go in and shoot everybody, and as the fire department and police officers got there, went inside the building, they were going to blow them up. So they want to kill as many people as they can, and they don't care who it is. Okay? So, but the other thing that along those lines too is that she, the guy's husband, had posted what they were going to do on social media before they actually went in and did it. So in a lot of cases that happens, okay, because they want to be glorified because they know they're end up getting killed or they're going to kill themselves, but they want everybody to know about it before it happens. They want to get the recognition that they think they deserve for going out and doing this. Okay. Law enforcement arrival. Follow our instructions. Raise your hands. Do not have or don't make any sudden moves. Avoid screaming or yelling, and leave the area in the direction law enforcement came. Always tell people don't have anything in your hands. Don't even have cell phones in your hands because they can be construed as a weapon or something. Tensions are high. Everybody's going crazy. We're even going crazy because we don't know exactly what's going on. So we want to try to remain as calm as possible, but just we want people to understand we want you to listen to what we're telling you to do. Okay? Post response. This is the rescue task force stuff I was talking to you about. This is when the fire department gets involved. You can see we do the drills at shopping centers, at their training sites, at schools and things like that. Take care of yourself and others. First aid is a big thing, okay? So if you get hurt, chances are you're going to have to treat yourself for your injury, okay? I'm assuming everybody in here knows basic first aid. So that's all you really need to know. You need to have a basic first aid kit to help that out, but If you get hurt, you're gonna have to probably go somewhere where you can hide and treat yourself for that, okay? If you're stuck in a room, in a closet that locks, chances are you're gonna be in there a couple hours, so you gotta understand that, okay? So we don't want you to come out until somebody knocks on the door and you know it's a police officer, okay? If somebody comes into a room that's hurt, that you're in, we would like you to treat them also, okay, so they can survive. Clearing the building and the investigation. After everything's done, the police officers are still going to go back through the building to make sure nobody else is hurt, nobody else is hiding, and there's no other suspects, okay? But that can take several hours. That's why I say be prepared if you're hiding, not to be found for about 2 or 3 hours, okay? Because it's going to be a slow, methodical search for people, for other things, okay? It's not like when we initially get there, we want to go as fast as we can to where the problem is and then take care of it, okay? It's going to be very, very slow. The investigation is going to take hours, if not weeks, okay? If you're a witness, the detectives are going to want to talk to you, and you're probably going to be there from start to finish for probably about 6 or 8 hours. So be prepared for that, okay? That was one of the things that the survivors from San Bernardino brought up, is that they were there for about 10 hours after it happened, okay? So when they evacuated the building, they were taken across the street to a golf course. Everybody was taken out there, and they stood out there for a couple hours, and the police department finally got buses for them, put them in buses and shipped them off to a vacant building that the county had, and everybody got into this big room. They allowed them to make phone calls to their loved ones so that everybody would know that they're okay. They gave them food and they gave them water. But before detectives got to them, it had been several hours already. So just be prepared to be there for quite a while. Preparedness and mindset. Kind of been harping on it a little bit. Everything for you to survive an active shooter incident is in your mind, okay? If you think you're going to survive it, chances are you're going to survive it, all right? Unless you're fatally shot in the head, okay? But if you get shot in the arm, the leg, or somewhere else, you can survive if you think that you will, okay? I've seen it happen. People survive from a lot of weird stuff, so it's not uncommon. Encourage people if they've been wounded or stuff like that, tell them that they're going to survive. Get their mind thinking that way. Don't let them think that they're going to die, okay? Preparedness at the workplace, security controls, take threats seriously, know your workplace, see something, say something, employee assistance. Security controls, you guys have some around here, all right? The doors that are locked are probably meant to be locked, so use your key or your fob in order to get in and shut the door behind you. People do it at our work all the time. We have the doors that are security doors, and they just leave them, prop them open, so they don't have to get their key out or whatever it is every single time. So they hate me because I go behind them and I shut the door. So they get all irritated because it wastes time. But they're there for a reason. Take threats seriously. If somebody calls and says, hey, I'm going to blow up your building, I'm going to come down and shoot it up. If you guys think it's serious, let your supervisor know. Call the police and let them know, hey, I got this call at 9:50. The guy said he was so-and-so. He said that they brought something down here and it was going to blow up at 10 o'clock. All right? So we can come down, check out the building, check for things that look unusual. You guys know what looks unusual. We want you to point those things out to us, okay? If somebody's sitting out in the parking lot for 5 hours and it's 100 degrees out there, but their car's off and they're just sweating to death, that's a little weird, right? Let the supervisor know. They can go out there, talk to the person, or they could just call the police. Like I said before, it's easier for us to come out and have it be nothing than have it turn into something major, all right? Employee assistance, some businesses have that where they have, in case something happens, a coworker dies or something like that, they have counseling that people can contact in case they're having problems with things. The county has that set up, emergency assistance plan, where it's all confidential. You can call and set up an appointment. You can go in and talk to a counselor for a certain amount of sessions, and if they feel that you need more counseling, they'll set you up with those psychiatrists and stuff like that, and you can continue on. Training preparedness, just a simple 1 hour of me up here blabbing to you guys and having you laugh at my stupid jokes. It's training, okay? It's just to get you guys thinking about what you're going to do. as simple as it is, okay? Going and doing drills once a year or 2 times a year, so you know where the exits are at in the building, you know how to get there from where you're at, and things like that, okay? If the problem's happening out front, you don't want to go out through the front exit, you want to go out through the back exits, okay? Or if it's happening on the side of the building, you want to go to the opposite side of the building, and want you to get as far away as you possibly can. Talk about what you're going to do with your co-workers. Hey, if this happens, what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to do this, okay? So all those things help out when things happen. Vigilance and accountability. Trust your gut, know what's right. Early intervention, don't be surprised, look and listen, head on a swivel. That's just kind of being aware of what's around you, being aware of your surroundings and stuff like that. When I go out, people think I'm a little weird, but I'll just stand there in front of, if I go to a restaurant, I'll just stand there for a little bit. I'll take a look, I'll see where the exit's at. I'll see who's in the restaurant. If anybody looks weird to me, I want to sit on the other side of the room from them, okay, in case something does happen. Or in a theater, I'll sit close to an exit. Or I'll sit all the way up at the top where nobody sits behind me. Just things like that. So, early intervention. Social media is great because people just spill their guts out on social media all the time. So teenagers do it. I'm in charge of the SROs here in the Canal Valley. Teenagers do it all the time. Hey, so-and-so is going to go to the school and he says he's going to shoot up the school or he's going to bring drugs to school and this and that. So that's how we get all of our tips early in the morning. Because as soon as they wake up, they start blabbing away. So that's a great thing. But if you see something, a post on social media of one of your co-workers and they say, I'm pissed off today, something's really going to happen at work. You may want to let your supervisor know because they may not have social media. I don't have Facebook, so everybody tells me what's going on in the world. So, this next video is done by Walmart. They use different acronyms for run, hide, fight. They use avoid, deny, and defend. It means the same thing, they just wanted to use different words to make it sound better, but it's really not. So, they spent about $1 million on this. They had a university in Texas make it for them. And their employees watch this video every 6 months. So new, old, doesn't matter, you're going to watch it. All right? And that's simply because people go into Walmart and shoot it up for whatever reason. Which one was that though? Oh, right off the there, right?
Yeah, that would have been the only one there.
Yeah. Before you went in there, he shot his wife and shot a deputy before you got there.
Oh, I don't know that part.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. See, you're in so much suspension, you didn't even clutch.
Yeah, a backpack is your first line, and a gun bag.
Some of this is kind of goofy and obvious, but it's Walmart. We're just gonna keep talking, we didn't hear that.
We need help. There's a gunman inside the store. He's shooting the place out. We need help now.
Emily, check that, you're pregnant.
Something just got a raise.
There's a man with a gun.
99% of the time, if the door is locked, unless there's a specific person that the woman's looking for, they'll just put it locked. They don't want to waste their time. You like how all those lights come on? I just
Yeah, in here.
It's a save on this.
The government's coming. We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
I can't do this.
You're gonna see your daughter tonight, okay? We are all going to go home tonight. All right? We have a right to defend ourselves. Get the gun!
I didn't tell you it wasn't good.
This one didn't really get
That works in WWF.
Yes, we're all good.
You thought it was over.
If you ever have the misfortune to be in an active shooter event, you deserve to survive. In our research, we have found that the actions that potential victims take during these events are critical to their survival. We have identified 3 options that have proven effective in many events. These are: avoid the attacker, deny the attacker access to your area, defend yourself. It is a personal decision, but you have a right to do so. Avoiding the attacker starts with being aware of your surroundings at all times and knowing what is going on around you. If you see or hear something that looks suspicious, take action. For example, the stalker took immediate and effective action to protect himself when he observed the shooter pulling out weapons from the bag. Others, however, hesitated, and this hesitation can cost them valuable time that they could have used to get away from the threat.
And it's on sale, I'm kidding.
Or could be gunfire. Start trying to get away from it as soon as possible. Gunfire has a distinctive sound. Inside of buildings, the sound can be muffled or distorted.
Looks more like a cost.
A single loud bang could be a person dropping something, or even thunder.
You think so? Yeah?
Sounds good.
Sounds good? Alright.
But repeated loud bangs are much more likely to be gunfire. Additionally, look at the reaction of others. Are they startled or scared? Are they running? What are they saying? Any one of these events individually may create denial, but when put together should create a heightened awareness and stimulate an immediate response. It is important that you know how to get out. The situation will be chaotic and rapidly changing. In general, you will want to go to the nearest exit. But you must also understand that the closest exit may not be accessible or safe to use. If this is the case, go to a different exit. While avoiding the threat, consider the uses of cover and concealment. Cover offers protection from gunfire, while concealment minimizes your exposure to the attacker. Try to keep objects between you and the attacker. If you can't avoid the attacker, sometimes the best option will be to deny the attacker access to your location. In many locations, this can be accomplished by closing and blocking a door, such as they did in the meeting room. Locking the door has proven effective in many attacks. If the door does not have a lock, You can place heavy objects in front of it. Remember, barricades work best if the door opens toward you. If it doesn't, use tools that are readily available, such as straps, belts, or objects that can be used to lock or secure the door to make it difficult for the attacker to enter the room. This may at least slow the attacker down and give you time to identify alternate means of escape, such as adjoining rooms or windows. When attempting to deny access to your location, you want to make it appear that there is no one in your area. Lock doors, turn off the lights, silence your phones, and get out of sight. Your attempt to deny the attacker access to your location might fail.
The gunman's coming. What are we gonna do? We're gonna have to defend ourselves.
Have a backup plan about what you will do. In cases, this may be to defend yourself. You need to be in a place where you can act if the attacker comes into your location. In most rooms, you will line up against the same wall that the door is on. Near the door so you can react, but not directly in front of it. If you are unable to avoid or deny, your best option may be to defend yourself by using whatever is available. In a situation where someone is attempting to kill you, you have the legal right to defend yourself.
You guys got all those tools here, right?
Attack weak spots such as eyes, throat, and groin. Fight to the best of your ability and do not quit until the attacker is stopped. This is what the workers in the warehouse did when they were unable to avoid the attacker and felt their lives were in immediate danger. Whatever option you choose, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Provide any information that you know. The operator will ask you a lot of questions. If you don't know the answer, don't guess. Just say you don't know and only state the facts. This would be a complex situation and we can't tell you what you should do in every case. What we can do is provide you with information about the options that we have found to be most effective for surviving these attacks. The ultimate choice is yours. What you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Law enforcement will be entering a chaotic scene with limited information. Their first priority will be to stop the threat to your safety. The police may not know where or who the threat is. Listen and comply with their commands immediately.
Put it down, sir. Put it down. Both of you on the ground.
Police are trained to look at people's hands to assess threats. Do not have anything in your hands that could be perceived as a weapon, such as a cell phone.
Show me your hands, sir. Show me your hands. Move to us. Everybody keep your hands up, please. Walk out the door.
If told to do so, stay where you are and do not make sudden movements. Again, follow all commands. Remember, what you do matters. Avoid the attacker. Deny access to your location. Defend yourself. Remember, ADD. You can survive.
That's it. That's all I got for you. If you guys want to contact me, there's my office phone number. My email's on there. I'm usually not in my office, but if I am, I never answer the phone anyway. It's always bad news. So best way to get hold of me is through email. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Yes.
In the first video,
Okay.
when everybody went into the room, they were all grouped together. Is it not better for them to spread out? That way, if the guy came in, they would all be in one corner. You're all
The LA Sheriff one?
yeah.
At the school and stuff like that when
They
they went
went
in
to
there?
the corner.
No, we go in as a group. So one person has the front. The officers.
When the people were
the
hiding.
victim.
The victims that were in the room, they were all standing all together
Huddled
in
together.
one.
Oh, but they're away from the door against a wall that they couldn't be seen at, and the door was locked. So with schools, it's kind of different, especially elementary schools and stuff like that. Teachers are responsible for the children that are there. Okay, so it's kind of hard to run out of a school or a classroom with 20 10-year-olds running behind you because they will never ever do it. You tell them to do something, they're going to do the opposite. So when we teach this at schools, we always tell the teachers, just get away from the door, get away from the windows, turn off the lights, lock the door if you can, or put something in front of it, and get all your kids against the wall. Try to keep them as quiet as you can. So, I mean, I don't know if that answers your question or not, but
So in here, like if they're back in the hospital, you don't want them to all group up together in one corner, but you want them, where would they hide anyway? Spread
You
out.
want it where you just can't be seen. So if in the room, if that corner was where, if they're looking through the door, they can't see you, then you want to be up against
Correct.
that corner. You
Correct.
gotta use your best judgment in
Uh,
each situation.
correct. I mean, you work with what you got. I was talking to Nancy, I was talking to Renee. At our work, we have what we call safe rooms. So they're kind of away from everything, and they're identified by having instead of a red cross, we made a brown cross outside the door. So everybody knows that's a safe room. They can go in that room, lock the door. We have a little gizmo that goes behind the door and it keeps it shut in case they knock the doorknob off. Okay.
What do you do if you're locked outside in the safe room and they tell you to lock it, not open
Go
it?
find another place.
Okay.
Yeah. Go find another place to hide.
I ain't
Or,
seen it.
like we always say, your best defense is to run out of the building, okay? And the second option, we if you have to hide, you have to hide. But we always want you to try to get out, okay? So we always tell you, run opposite of where the shooting's happening, if you can. And if you can't, hide, okay? And if they don't want to let you in the safe room, move on. And they're not your friends. But in the safe rooms, we have food and water and first aid kits and all that stuff in there. So, and after it's all over, after all the shooting's done, and somebody comes, knocks on the door and says, "Are the police?" and you don't believe them, don't open the door. We don't care. Call 911, say, "Hey, somebody's knocking at the door. They say they're the police." I don't believe them. The dispatcher will get a hold of us and say, "Hey, are you at room 101 knocking on it?" "Yeah, we are." And the dispatcher will say, "Yeah, it's the police." Or we can slide our badge underneath the door or whatever you guys want, just to get you out. If you still don't come out, we're just going to leave you and we'll come back and deal with you later. So, wow.
Question for you.
Sure.
We had an incident a few months ago where somebody had called and didn't identify themselves and they threatened to harm one of our doctors and they said they were going to be, and we felt kind of helpless in a way because we called the police and they said, well, there's nothing we can do about that because he didn't state a time and we didn't have a phone number. I mean, what do we do in that situation? I mean, is it...
I'd just be extra vigilant. Kind of look at the people that are coming in. If they seem nervous, if they're acting odd or things like that, call 911. I mean, it's not a big deal if we come out and talk to the person in your lobby. Hey, what? They called us because they thought you were acting a little suspicious. It's not a big deal. We come out for stupider things. Cats up trees and stuff like that.
Then we should have them recorded.
Yeah.
Now they're all recorded and the number comes up. It's not going to be like, oh, blocked.
Search for hours for a phone number.
Yeah. So I know you guys have surveillance cameras and stuff around, which is all well and good. It gives you a little warm and fuzzy feeling inside. But like I was telling Nancy or Renee, unless somebody's looking at the screen all the time or occasionally glances up there, they're kind of useless.
Well, I think the main thing, for the night crew is that we always have the screen up, and if it's not working, be sure to let Renee or somebody know.
But are you looking at it?
Well, that's the thing. So during the night when we have emergency hours, they actually can check. What's that?
Up front hasn't worked in a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, and it would be nice because I do stand up there, so I could look at it.
There you go, boss.
I have 4 computers up there, one can always stay that.
So why isn't it? What's not working?
The
cameras are working, it's just not set up for units.
Okay. So we should do that. That should be high priority.
Because I can watch it, and if somebody's weird standing outside, I can let people know don't go outside. And we have overhead that I can just say, everybody stay in and call. I mean, that's what we've talked about a little bit at night. So.
Yeah.
The other thing too is to make sure that when you do have them up, that you have the boarding sign up as well.
Yeah.
Because that wall is a total barrier. You can't hear anything. So just to make sure that when you do have it at night, to
in the back.
Watch all areas,
Yeah.
not just.
No, that's what I want up front is so I can see
Yeah.
the outside more than the inside. I don't think it doesn't really
And
matter.
vice versa,
what they're doing
they should be
inside.
watching you up there because you're on your
I
own.
would like that.
Yeah.
Because I'm exposed.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's unfortunate, I mean, I went over with Nancy and some over with Renee. Unfortunately, a lot of the fixes are expensive, and it always comes down to a huge money issue. And I understand that, but a couple things can be done that are kind of inexpensive and things like that, just to make it a little safer. And every business is like that. And I always tell them, buildings aren't designed for earthquakes or fires or people coming in and shooting them up, okay? They make them as safe as they can, but nobody plans for the active shooter, okay? They want to make the building occupiable for the person that's going to do it, okay? So like a veterinary hospital like this, they're going to make it easy for people to see things going on through doors, through the cages and stuff like that. But they're not thinking about, okay, well, if somebody comes in here and shoots, they're going to be able to see everything because all the doors have glass in them. All right, you're not going to be able to hide. So, those are some things that we went over and things like that. So,
What's nice is how big the window area is, so that if
Yeah.
somebody does park, I mean, there's a lot of drug deals that go on, but I can watch how long they've
Right.
been sitting there, and one gets out, hands something to somebody else, and they leave, I can kind of
yeah,
figure it out now.
absolutely.
But, if they're sitting there a while, I'll let everybody know, hey.
Something going on.
Yeah, they do that all the time. It's dark out there at night.
So why don't they pull into this parking lot? They don't go,
No.
okay,
Do you guys have do you have the lights in your parking lot at night?
yeah.
Yeah, but it's dark enough
it's out
that
of the
people
way.
think we're not paying attention.
Yeah, and it's out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of way back here, so I
It is.
think before he built it here, people used this as like a little.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still vagabonds that still
Fun
chill,
zone.
Yeah.
drink beers and stuff. Right?
Yeah, I mean, if those people make you guys nervous, call us. We'll chase
I've
them
done
out.
it.
It's not a
I've
big
done
deal.
it. Somebody got their motor, what is that called? Motorhome stuck.
Yeah.
Like came through and then he comes, oh my gosh.
Just looking for a place to sleep.
No, he jumped out and he had one of those limbs, like a hook should be on his arm. I freaked
Oh,
out.
yeah.
I was like, oh God, really? And so I wouldn't let him in. And I called you guys and he ended up, help me come and, no.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fine.
not helping you. So he just backed it out himself, which I was very impressed with.
Yeah.
But you guys showed up and he was already gone.
Yeah.
So.
Any other questions? Yes, no, leave us out. All right.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.